A common photograph that we're often asked to execute for clients is a beer pour. So there are three basic types of beer pours. There's the poured glass, there is beer that's pouring through a bottle into a glass, and then what's coming from a tapper. So how do you create a beer pouring out of a bottle? Well, you got to cut the bottom of the bottle because I want to rig that bottle up so that I can have repeatability. I don't want to have to like pour every time and try to guess where I am. I want to be able to craft that. I want to really be able to perfect my lighting, perfect the pour, where it's hitting in the glass, and make it happen time and time again so I can get the right shot, the shot that I really want. So how do you cut the bottom of the bottle off so that you can rig it up? Well, there are a couple of different ways. The first method is through fire. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to cut a piece of twine and I'm going to wrap it around the bottom of the bottle. So there are a couple of things. Intuitively, I think people think, man, I got to wrap a bunch of twine around here and then I'm going to soak it in acetone and light it on fire. You don't want to create a bunch of wrap around it because if it's thick, it's not going to create the fracture that you want. So just wrap it around the bottle a couple of times, tie it off, and then cut off the excess. I want it fairly tight so it holds. And I do it on a towel so it's kind of handy for me. We'll cut this excess off because I don't need that. So I just have two strands of the twine going around the base of the bottle. Really simple, right? So I'm going to grab some acetone, also known as fingernail polish. You don't have to have a bottle of acetone. You can get fingernail polish, which is the exact same thing. And I'm going to pour a little of it on there, and I'm going to let it soak up in that twine. All right? I've got a little down in the base of this bowl, so I'm going to just stick the twine in there, let it soak up a little bit more, and I'm going to let the excess drip off. Now here's where it gets interesting and fun. Creme brulee torch. I'm going to take this and I'm going to light that bottle on fire. And now I'm going to spin it. I'm going to rotate it until that light goes out. I want that heat to build up on that line of twine because it's going to create a fracture. And once it starts to go out, I'm going to drop it into a bucket of ice water, and the bottom's going to crack right off. Let's see it. Boom. Couldn't be any easier than that. Very simple. Now, it's not the cleanest, most perfect cut in the world. It's a little bit jagged, but you can see how it heated it up and it caused a fracture on that bottom. It split a little bit past where my twine was, but that's okay. It was getting that heat. And when I cut it, or when I dropped it in the ice water, the bottom piece fell right off. That's exactly what I need. Because now I've got the ability to put this on my set, I can rig it up, and I can pour beer through the backside of it over and over and over again, and it can hit my glass every single time. I can move it around, I can adjust its height. Again, I want repeatability. So that's method number one to cutting a beer bottle. So if you're concerned about fire and burning your house or your studio down, there is another way to do it, and that is with a bottle cutting device. This one is made by a company called Kinkajou. And it's a very simple device where we actually just have a few little components that we need in order to cut a bottle. So it basically works as a clamp system, and it has a cutting wheel here. So I'm going to put the bottle inside of these rollers, clamp the bottle onto it, and then I'm going to engage this little cutting wheel, spin the bottle, then I'll be able to tap it. I'm going to run hot water on it and then drop it into ice, and that should crack it right off. So first thing to do is get it in here and get it set so that I can clamp it down. And I want to do a couple of things. I want to make sure I'm pretty level and then I can spin it. And I can tell I've got this too tight. You don't want it too tight where you can't spin it. So let's see if we can get this a little better. Yeah, that's about right. So now I'm just going to go ahead and engage the cutter. We're going to hear it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go spinning around it a few times. I can already tell that this bottle, wow, this bottle is going to cut well. All right, I'll take that out. And unlock it. And now I've got a nice cut line all the way around that. That should come off really nicely. So the way they instruct you to use this is to actually take these rubber rings and then go over the bottle and create a little valley where we can pour hot and cold water, alternating until it pops off. So I'm going to put the first ring on. It's just going to sit like that. And I will put the second ring on. Get it fitted well. And I've got that little valley. Now, I'm going to take a cutting wheel and I'm just going to tap it. And I'm going to move around, which is going to help increase the fracture point. Doesn't need a lot of pounding. I don't want to go really hard on it. All right, let's see if we can do that. So now I've got some water that I was boiling and I'm going to pour it over, kind of into that little valley. I'm going to get that glass and that fracture hot, and then I'm going to put it in cold water. With this device, it takes a couple of times going back and forth and tapping it to make sure you get it, which is kind of why I like the fire better. It's just faster. All right, more hot water. And let's go into cold. And that'll do it. Nice and simple. I've got a good clean cut, and I'll be able to take this on set and start to pour beer through it. Simple as that.